Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the City of Menasha Administration Committee meeting to order. Could we have roll call, please?
Alderman Taylor?
Here.
Alderman Sevenik?
Here.
Alderman Langdon?
Here.
Alderman Kruger?
Here.
Alderman Tom Grady?
Here.
Alderman
Ottoman. Very powerful.
Alderman Ed Grady? Alderman Rapella?
Here.
Thank you. Our first item this evening is to approve the minutes from the Administration Committee meeting of July 15th, 2019. Is there a motion? Alderman Rapella.
Thank you very much. I'll make the motion to approve the minutes for the Administration Committee on July 15th, 2019.
We have a motion from Alderman Rapella and a second from Alderman Kruger to approve the minutes. Are there any questions or discussion? Alderman Rapella, did you have something?
No.
Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Minutes are approved. We have 3 action items this evening. The first two have to do with the CIVMIC 2019 summer meeting update and renewal. So we will take item A and B separately. Item A is our dividend recommendation from CIVMIC, and Director Jacobs is not here at the moment to address that. Attorney Captain, would you take that up? Okay, great.
Sure. Last year, you may remember that CIVMIC did have or authorized the return of dividends for liability insurance, but due to the number of or the usage of the auto liability, they did not have a dividend for that last year. This year, there is a proposed dividend for both liability insurance and the auto coverage. And what is being asked of the city of Menasha is when it is that we want to receive those dividends, or alternatively, there is an option that the dividends are held by CIVMIC and invested with the rest of their investments, and they're available at call whenever it is that the city of Menasha determines to call the dividends. I did have an opportunity to talk to Director Jacobs, and he is recommending that the city of Menasha authorize CIVMIC to hold the dividends for investment. And this is the 2019 dividends.
And that would be option 2 as presented from CIVMIC.
Yes.
And is this an action that needs to be forwarded to the Common Council, or one that is simply taken here this evening?
It does need to be forwarded to the Common Council.
Thank you. And so with that, we'll look for a motion. And option 2 is the recommendation to forward to council, and then we'll start with, we'll open the floor for discussion. Alderman Rapella,
I'll make a motion to forward it to council.
would that be option 2?
Option 2, yes.
Thank you. Second. We have a motion from Alderman Rapella and a second by Alderman Langdon to request option 2 for our dividend. Are there any questions? Alderman Rapella, did you have a question? Okay. Are there any questions or discussion on that item? Seeing none, we'll take a roll call vote. Attorney Captain, would you read the roll call?
Motion carries. Roll call 8-0.
Thank you. Item B is Resolution 20-19, a resolution approving the City of Menasha's liability insurance renewal through Cities and Villages Mutual Insurance Company, otherwise known as CIVMIC. And Attorney Captain, could you introduce this for us, please?
Thank you. You may recall that CIVMIC offers premiums for a succession of years, 3 years generally. The last, I want to say, I think maybe the last 4 years, they look at them every 2 years. But that is to aid with budgeting moving forward. We are committed through 2020 right now, and what is proposed, they're looking out then, this would be 3 years for 2021, 22. They do have the premium amounts quoted under the city's current self-insured retention, which is $25,000. They usually do offer, so that we can see what the difference is, for comparison purposes, the next highest self-insured retention, which is $37,500. Again, the city has previously worked with the self-insured retention amount of $25,000. So what they are requesting is that the city commit then for the next 2 years, which is 3 years total, 2021 and 2022, and those are the premium amounts that are quoted.
So would our motion include 2020, 21, and 22, or just 21 and 22?
There actually is a proposed resolution, which is attached indicating the renewal for 21 and 22, since we have already committed for 2020.
Thank you. So I will entertain a motion at this point and then open the floor for discussion. Alderman Severnick has his light on. Alderman.
I just wanted to speed things up here. So I'll move at this time to recommend to the Common Council R 2019, a resolution approving the City of Menasha's liability insurance renewal through Cities and Village Mutual Insurance Company, CIVNIC.
Second.
We have a motion from Alderman Severnick, seconded by Alderman Langdon, to forward to the council R 20-19. Is there any discussion or questions? Attorney Captain?
I did want to mention that we do periodically invite CIVMIC representatives to come in and explain to Common Council the insurances that are provided and the services that are provided by our participation with this mutual insurance company, of which we are a member. So if the council would like to, we can make arrangements to have somebody come in. It's been maybe 3 or 4 years that we had somebody come in, but periodically we do that due to a change in aldermen. So if anyone does want that, just let me know and we can make arrangements for somebody to come in.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Seeing none, we'll take a roll call vote. Attorney Captain?
Motion carries on roll call 8-0.
Thank you. And lastly, this evening, we have Ordinance 18-19, an ordinance amending Title II, Chapter 4 of the Code of Ordinances having to do with public hearing notices. And I didn't ask before tonight's meeting who would like to introduce that item. Director Schrader?
I certainly can take that, thank you. So, throughout the past several months, we've had, several, public hearings come through, and there have been, notes through the council meetings and the plan commission meetings that 100 feet, may not be, the greatest distance, to provide a public hearing for, as it does miss a large population of, 2 properties over, potentially 3 properties over on the same street. So it was looked at to look into an ordinance, to increase that 100 feet public hearing distance, slightly larger. We did take a look at, other municipalities, and there certainly is a split between, 100 feet, 200 feet, and 300 feet. However, we do feel that 200 feet is a happy medium where it still does gauge that public hearing process. It does fall in the middle. The only other municipalities that did do 300 feet were the village of Fox Crossing and the village of Harrison. Likely why they have a larger distance is because more of the urban sprawl. Another thing was to include not only the property owner, but also the occupant, either a renter, or, somebody on a land contract that their name does not show up within the assessor records. The ordinance in front of you is drafted in this same fashion. However, in discussing it with my staff, and kind of looking at how that would impact, staff's recommendation is for the administration committee to recommend approval of this ordinance, excluding the additional notification of the occupant where the property is not owner occupied. The reason being is that oftentimes those rental properties are very transit, so it is the property owner that has that vested interest, and it's also their duty to make sure they provide that notification to that tenant. One of the other reasons was that when we had written this, and this was after we had sent this out, we had looked at it, and somebody goes, if we were to include the language as written, where the occupants, where it's not owner occupied, if there was a apartment complex with 50 units, technically now how this ordinance is drafted is we would have to send out 50 mailings to that entire complex. So if anything, I do think it would be wise to modify that to state and property address where it's not owner occupied. At least then you're getting one notification to that management company or whatnot. So just so you are aware, this is Title II. Title II does not require Plan Commission approval, but there are basically all of these changes, very similar changes within the zoning code that will be in front of the Plan Commission tomorrow, and both of these ordinance hopefully will come back to the council for final approval on August 19th.
Alderman Sevenick?
Thank you. If you recall, Ms. Taylor talked about maybe making the municipality change from, or currently we have 100 and I thought double, and my thinking is I always like to keep the ordinances that we do similar to what the city of our sister city is doing, especially when dealing with municipal court and that, you want our ordinances to kind of mimic one another. So I did talk to her just briefly a little while ago, and she said to me that she was at least happy it was no longer 100. So with that, if it's all right, Chair, I would like to, are we going to recommend this to the council, or do you want to wait until it goes through committee tomorrow?
I would recommend it to the council as Title 13, if a recommended approval, then they'll both be on the August 19th common council meeting.
Okay, so I'll move for the recommendation to the common council of 01819 ordinance amending Title 2, Chapter 4. What did you say about 13?
Just Title 2.
Okay, of the Code of Ordinances,
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Sevenick and a second by Alderman Taylor to forward ordinance 18-19 to the Common Council. I know I spoke with Attorney Captain briefly before tonight's meeting, and she, Attorney Captain, did you want to address what you and I had talked about regarding what was in the ordinance and that you thought? Okay, great. Thank you. I'm glad that got cleared up. Seeing no other discussion, we'll take a roll call vote. Attorney Captain? No, that's okay. I almost forgot too.
Motion carries on roll call 8-0.
Thank you. And just one point of clarification before we move on from that, Alderman Sevenick, was your motion to send it to council as written, as presented this evening?
Yeah, and if we,
I'm sorry. Yes, Alderman Sevenick.
and if we need to amend anything or change it after it goes through planning, we can do it at the council level.
Okay, just wanted to be clear on that. Thank you, and thank you, Director Schrader, for your explanation of that ordinance. And with that, a motion to adjourn. We have a motion to adjourn by Alderman Taylor, seconded by Alderman Kruger. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. We are adjourned.